22. The secretary will call the roll.
Vice Chair LaFaro is absent. Vice Chair Finnerty.
Present.
Secretary is here. Board Member Catalinato is not here yet.
Yeah.
Board Member Mutu.
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
And Board Member Fulham.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any minutes to approve?
We
Miss-
actually do. We have
We do.
April 14th and May 12th.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by George,
Second?
second by Kate. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We have, what do we have? We have 6 yes. Oh, no,
Five.
5
Yeah,
yes,
five,
2, 5 yes, 2 absent.
Five here.
And Anthony, are we ready to go with your,
I'll start.
511, item 1?
511 Farm LLC. I
Okay.
have the aerial up on screen here in the yellow. This is a property located at 721 Loafers Path in Bridgehampton. The property is currently improved with a single-family residence and several accessory structures, a tennis court, detached accessory structure, and in here is a lined man-made pond. The property is split zoned. I'll see if I could show it on the map, otherwise. It's down the middle of the property. You can almost see the line. On the northern section of the property is CR 200, and the bottom section of the property is CR 80. Application is actually, I'll go through it. The first part of this was a yield map that was submitted by the applicant. I should point out that Loper's Path is over here where a portion of the property runs. There's also a flag strip that comes down to Millstone Road.
Anthony, if I may interrupt you 1 second, Board Member Catalinato is here.
Oh, cool. So, thank you. So this was the yield map that was submitted, and what is shown is that within the CR 200 section would yield 1 lot, and then the CR 80 would yield another 4 lots for a total of 5 lots. The creation of 4 new lots as there is an existing residence, but a total of 5 lots on the yield.
Anthony, if you would for me, I was trying to figure this out without a big enough map.
Okay.
It's on the corner of Lopers and Millstone. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'll show you. It might be easier on the area.
It's near the intersection.
Yeah, so Millstone Road comes down here.
Is south at the bottom?
Yeah, it
Yes.
connects at the bottom. Remember, there's a Lopers, this is Lopers East, there's the Lopers West, which is on the other
Yeah,
side of the.
okay, yeah, well, I'm familiar with that because there are trails up through there.
Yeah.
So the flag strip comes down to Millstone Road and to the bulk of the property here. This bulk of the property, this is where it fronts on Loper's Path, on this
Okay,
side of the
thank
property.
you.
Okay, no problem. So the yield of 5 lots. The applicant did submit a cluster plan showing the 5 lots to the north with a common driveway and then an ag reserve on the bottom here. The applicant's preferred plan is a 2-lot plan. 1 lot would retain the existing residence, a 2nd lot to the north, and then to be issued development rights certificates for the 3 remaining development rights to be used elsewhere as opposed to being developed on the subject site. So the proposal is to do the 2 lots, retain 3 development rights, and transfer those elsewhere. What you're seeing in the hatched area is to get the development rights, easements need to be placed on the property, preserving enough land equivalent to those 3 lots. So, so looking at this, the applicant's preferred plan is the 2-lot plan. I had the cluster plan submitted because it was a requirement of the code. I think that getting, and I would say, Kyle, just on the easements, I think if we were going to do a concept like this, I think the easement area just would need to be more easily defined, as opposed to meander. You know what I mean?
I can address that one.
But, so the question for the board is there a reason why we would take 5 lots on this property, 5 septic systems and all the rest of it, to get the open space, or put 2 lots here, larger lots, and put easements on them, and then put the septic systems and the other houses elsewhere?
Is this, this is the APOD, right?
It is largely cleared, because of pre-existing, conditions of the site. But you'll see that most of the wooded portion of the property falls to the north, and that's where an overwhelming majority of the TDR easement would be located. So the easement would then protect the wooded portions of the property.
And then the receiving parcels for the development rights would have to be in the same school district?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yes.
I believe so.
gotcha.
Anthony, where does the second lot, the northern lot, take access from?
It would be off of Loper's Path, so they're showing
Direct
sort of
lot.
a
I see it there.
Like a wedge,
flag lot.
yeah.
I see
Coming
it
up.
now, okay.
Now, we'd have to look at that a little bit, maybe to adjust it if need be. So that was the applicant's preferred plan.
Will the open space, or the easement rather, have to be in some way defined so that it's not encroached on?
Yeah, and then Kyle said he's gonna address that, but yes, that was, one of my questions was that we would, probably try to get an easement area that's
Because
clearly definable.
it looks like there's a whole big chunk in that northern part that's not going to be easement. Am I reading this?
Yeah, I think what they're showing on this map is an easement area equal to the 3 lots.
But
That would be,
But it's not a box.
it's not a box, that's right. And that's one of the comments I just mentioned to Kyle.
What is in the unhatched area currently? Like, is there some kind of reason that that's not?
We'll ask Kyle, but I believe it was just that they calculated what the area of the easement would need to be from a square footage
And
standpoint.
it kind of follows like a clearing. with the
Yeah, and they're
trees.
largely following the wooded areas of the property.
So, maybe we'll have Kyle, could you use the podium and just augment what?
Kyle Collins, KPC Planning Services, 16 Library Avenue, West Hampton Beach, here on behalf of the applicant, 511 Farm LLC, and kind of answered the question right there at the end. The reason the configuration of that lot is, or the easement area, is to, particularly on that upper northeast corner, it follows the existing clearing. This has gone a number of years ago to Dave Wilcox for transfer of development rights. He had done a report, it's referenced in my application, and he identified it as worthy of transferring the development rights off of, and outlines the criteria for the size of the easement area. So basically, we followed the lead that came out of the letter for allocation of development rights that Dave prepared. And the area on the second lot that is not hatched is going to be the area that would have opportunity for development. So you'd have a house or, but this is prime ag soils. I don't know if, Anthony, if you have any historical aerials, but this has historically been farmed. He wants to have the ability, it does have prime ag soils on it, and would have the opportunity to still farm the lot at some time in the future. And so what we envision really is 2 types of easements on this. One, a conservation easement for those areas that are not proposed to be cleared, and then for the areas that are cleared, that are covered under there, that would permit agriculture.
Kyle, have you identified the receiving parcels for these?
No,
Not yet.
absolutely not.
You're just gonna bank them for now?
Just go back up for now.
Yeah, are you saying that rectangular wedge that's sitting in the projected easement area, you'd have that as an easement as well that might be farmed? Or is there going to be a house there? Because I think I heard you say both.
No, there's the cross-hatched area indicates areas that are currently vegetated. That's along the northern property boundary, kind of across the top. There's a little bit of other areas, but the areas that are not cleared, they would, the proposal, and as provided in the application, is proposing to those areas that are cleared, that still have prime ag soils, would have the opportunity to be farmed.
And Anthony, could you just point to what Kyle is talking about?
I believe this is the area in here, for example,
Correct.
Kyle. The wooded line,
Yeah, and it wouldn't necessarily be restricted. The unrestricted area has prime ag soils and would be farmed as well. Though that area just would be able to have development on it, whether that be a house or a barn or some other
Where would the develop-
some accessory structure.
Anthony, where would the development go on second lot?
on lot 2.
Yeah.
We would ask for a specific bond, some type of building envelope that, shows conformance, but it would be somewhere within this unhatched area.
It would meet the standards for dimensional setbacks for the underlying zoning, which is CR 200.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And what's the acreage on the farmable area?
I don't know, I have that off the top of my head. Do you have it in your report here?
I don't actually. I
I
think,
think it's in my application, but.
let me just see, I might have, it's hard to say the percentage, but, 77% of the property is cleared, was
Yeah.
farmed,
Yeah.
or cleared.
70, 70?
77.
77.
It's actually, you do have it in there. It's 287,975,000 square feet. That is previously cleared,
Oh, there-
prime ag soils.
Oh, I did have it in there.
And
So again, I'm assuming we're talking about in Lot 2, the unhatched area.
Correct.
And there's a potential for a house with 5-acre setbacks.
Correct.
Is that doable? Because what is the size of that? How does that work? I mean, if the other stuff is not buildable because it's reserve, does that count for the overall size of the lot for the house?
Oh, total, what's the total acreage there, Anthony? I can't see
The
it from there.
acreage is roughly 6 acres, so
6
the
acres.
setbacks are gonna be measured from the property line.
So that unrestricted area is approximately 2 acres in size.
So the
Yep.
ag reserve would be used as part of the size of the lot to build a house?
Yeah.
The property lines, you just use the
Setbacks
property
go
lines
from
no
the
matter where
property
they are.
line. From these property lines, not here. It goes from here
Oh, yes,
or here.
but if that part of the I guess my question is, if that part of the property isn't buildable because it has reserve on it, it could still be used as some of the size
For
for the house?
setback purposes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
just for due diligence, to go back to, this is the preferred plan, and then the other plan, can you just explain the first configuration as well?
Yeah, the
With
cluster
the-
plan, just bear with me, shows the 5 lots clustered to the north here. This also assumes all the existing structures would be demolished, which is not proposed by the applicant. With an ag reserve to the south.
And the reason the ag reserve was there, the land further to the south is currently an unrestricted active farmland.
Oh, yeah, to the south here, so.
So we put
Operated
the-
by, what farm, do you know?
I
think
don't know, what's the
Falcao.
name on that? It's,
You have it?
Probably Falkowski.
excuse me, yeah.
Probably
Falcao.
Falkowski.
Yes, yeah, it is. You're right, Dennis.
Yeah, it is. That's all.
And Anthony, if you show the yield plan, it kind of flips it. The lots are, just along the bottom of it. But when the board had requested we provide a cluster plan, if you look at the intentions of the clustering provisions, particularly when you're talking about prime ag soils and those things, you typically would put those adjacent to other agricultural uses. So that's why the plan gets flipped in that scenario.
So,
But the preferred plan and the plan we're asking for is only to do 2 lots here. It's like Dennis pointed out, it is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, portions in the 5-acre, the upper portion. The code generally encourages development to be removed from both the Aquifer Protection Overlay District when it can be. And that's kind of what the intention, if you look at Chapter 244, the transfer of development rights. And that's why Dave Wilcox, the transfer of development right manager, found that it was appropriate to take development rights out of here so there isn't further residential development in this area.
so just to be clear, the area that's not hatched That's the only area you'd want to have as an ag reserve? Or to be the ability to do farming on, or would you be looking at the hatched area? The hatched area is not going to be touched.
That's correct.
No,
That's the
the
conservation.
portion that is currently cleared
Right,
would be farmed.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I guess for clarity purposes, the portion that is cleared may or may not be included within some of the hatched, or is that correct or an incorrect statement?
Say that again, sorry.
Is a portion of what has already been cleared, because it looks like it from the map here, some of it does fall within what's hatched on the map there?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So then some
absolutely.
of the stuff, so in answer to your question.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that's already cleared, which may be subject to farming, is included in some of that hashed area, particularly towards the bottom of the upper left corner.
Yeah, all that area that Anthony's
That's already
highlighting
cleared.
there is already cleared. And if you go back to the aerial photograph, it's pretty clear.
Okay, I see it now, yeah.
So you can see.
That-
It's already,
Yeah.
See that?
So like this portion that I'm
Yeah.
here would be within the preserved area, but that portion of that preserved area is being farmed.
That would
That's
have
what,
an
that's the question. on that.
that would
Yeah.
have an ag easement on it.
That would have an ag.
Ag
Ag
easement
Whereas the stuff
versus.
directly north of that would have a
Thank you, that's
conservation.
the
Correct.
question I was raising.
Exactly.
No, it's-
So at some point, we'll see, when the map comes back, we'll see both the area that you have as an ag easement as well as the conservation.
conservation.
Well, I'm now confused because I thought that was all going to be TRDs. Is it ag easement, or is it TRDs?
In either
or could
case,
be-
it could
Well,
still be a
it's
TDR regardless of
Sorry.
if it's an
Yeah.
ag or conservation.
It's a TDR,
Yeah.
and so the development rights would be transferred off. The underlying legal document that after they get their certificate will be, it says on there a TDR easement. It's gonna be either a conservation easement and/or an agricultural easement that covers that portion.
Conservation
Which won't
Right.
affect the
Forest
value of the
woodland.
TDRs, right?
And this
Anything
portion will
substantial?
have ag easements, so there'll be two different types of easements.
But there'll be some overlap of the two.
Well, they'll be
Consider-
No, there
separated.
won't be
areas.
overlap.
They'll
No, yeah.
define,
No, no overlap.
it'll be defined.
Yeah, it'll definitely be
defined.
defined.
Oh, okay.
They'll sit next to each other.
Yeah, there'll
So
be
they're
two
not-
different easements with two different legal descriptions that are identifying the areas that can be farmed and the area in the conservation easement that will remain
So the next plan we see will have them both clearly
Yeah.
defined what.
The tractor will have
I
to
got it.
stop right at the edge of the ag easement. It
Yeah.
won't be able to go into the conservation.
It'll be
What
more
I was-
linear, it won't be
No,
like.
yeah, I understand.
What I was trying to understand, if one piece of property could be both, and I think I'm hearing not.
Right, that seems to be,
On one lot, you can have both, but the same piece of, the same portion of the property will not be under the same, both
It
easements.
can't be counted both ways.
Correct.
Not
That's where I
overlap.
was going.
okay.
So, looks good, I mean, it's consistent with all the plans.
Yeah, there's one thing, there was some comments from the fire district. and-
Let me.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
Oh,
I'll
I'm
do it
sorry.
real quick. So we went through the description of everything. This is an unlisted action under SECRA. It's a two-lot subdivision, would be considered minor review even with the TDR. It doesn't meet the threshold for major subdivision review. Everything looks like it conforms to zoning, but the applicant will need to verify compliance with all dimensional yield requirements with the updated survey at the time of final application. The park requirement will be assessed against 4 lots or dwelling units for the one that's being retained on the property, plus the 3 development rights that would be secured. We had a public hearing in May 6th, with no comments received. I grade this out, based on a yield of 5 lots. This is where the Long Island workforce housing kicks in. So then the question becomes, is with a yield of 5 lots, technically then you have a 10% yield, a 10% density automatic incentive, which would give it a 6th lot. And then in which case, one of those lots then would have to be for affordable housing. The question is, how does this apply when you're dealing with TDRs and everything? I don't know the answer to that. I don't, so, I'm not really sure how to do this, other than I think that we would have to, put in the report, at least acknowledge that there's the potential for a 6-lot subdivision here, with a potential for an affordable lot.
6 TDR. Have you explored that?
No, and I think it's a good point with figure it out. I gotta go back and really look at the Long Island language of the Workforce Housing Act, because we're only proposing a 2-lot subdivision here. But I understand the point that potentially there could be, with the 3 development rights that are getting taken off. But really, you know, before submitting the final application, we'll resolve that issue. Either way, right? I mean, we'll figure that out.
What are you saying, that possibly a 4th transfer, development right would need to be?
Well, it depends
That's
on
a
the
good
extent. If anything, 5 or more lots.
Let's not make him rich right now.
No, he'd have to utilize that 1/4 development right for affordable housing. It wouldn't be an unrestricted development right.
Right.
It would have to be for.
Yeah, in other
housing
words, the
purposes.
question is, with the 5-lot yield, is this subject to the interpretation
Right.
of the Long Island Workforce Housing Act applied to this property? If so, then it could be that we're looking at a 6-lot yield on this.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have to give a 10% increase in yield automatically.
Right.
And that, you know, could adjust the number that are gonna be built.
Has this board ever encountered a situation like that before?
I have not.
Who makes that determination? Is there a board of review? Is it Department of State?
That's a good question. That's why I put it in gray here. I knew it was sort of, I don't know the answer, Dennis, to be quite honest. But I think, you know, I would like to keep it in here that this may
Yeah.
be subject to a 6th, you know, workforce
I
housing.
think that's reasonable, and we'll figure that out before the final application.
You know, just to, on record, it's worth considering the ag history in the area and the need for affordable housing east of the canal in Bridgehampton area. So I don't know, in terms of process, you know, are we approving this today, or
No,
just?
no.
Just the pre-app report. The
Yeah,
pre-app report is
so I
not an
think-
approval of anything, actually.
Yeah, it just needs to be,
It's designed to
Carefully
raise the issues,
considered.
actually, and so that, you know, we are aware, so.
thanks.
That's why I put it there, because I agree, I think so. The town engineer did submit comments, and I will incorporate into this approval. They were the standard comments, the drainage calculations and so forth, nothing out of the ordinary. The Office of Fire Prevention is looking for a potential, let's see here, hydrant. Let's see, here, the nearest fire hydrant is to recommend fire hydrant within 600 feet of the current residence. So I think that probably on the Lopers path.
Can you go to the map again? I believe there's one directly adjacent to, on the southeast corner of the parcel, just to the southeast. It's on Lopers. I think
Oh,
there's a
okay.
hydrant there.
Over here somewhere?
Nope, keep going down, the southeast corner, right there. Zoom in there, I think there's a hydrant right there. Does that say fire hydrant?
Fire cistern.
It's a cistern that was up there. It's probably required as part of one of the other historicals.
Is there public water on Lopers?
I do believe there is,
Okay,
but I'd have to confirm.
because they're gonna want a hydrant.
Yeah.
If it's there, but if you go to the fire district, the fire district's comments, they talk about putting 2 hydrants, one on the paper, which is currently a private paper street, which we don't have the authority to put anything on, so I don't think that's appropriate. And they're asking for another one on Millstone, which is greater than the 600 feet that is required to provide fire protection on the potential development on these lots. So we'd be happy to provide adequate fire prevention, but I don't think the fire departments or district's comments meets those standards.
Well, we haven't even settled, according to them, we haven't even established a map yet.
Yeah.
We had comments from the Conservation Board. So the first things first is that, you know, this is a lined pond. They acknowledge it's not a regulated wetlands pursuant to 325 of the town code. So I think we need to point that out. So it's not going to be subject to wetland setbacks. However, they also do point out in here, the key is the issue of the tiger salamander. It's within close proximity to a documented tiger, state endangered eastern tiger salamander breeding sites. So they're making recommendations in here as it relates to, you know, the pond needs to be surveyed by a qualified herpetologist. And then coordination with the New York State DEC for the proper permitting and requirements, should they find anything. Nothing pops up on the GIS regarding this, that it's within, and nothing came back from the DEC on this. But we will certainly do the referral, and I've incorporated the Conservation Board's recommendations into the report. Because the issue pops up, then we'll look into it. They talk about the clearing on the property, and we'll get an updated clearing line. They talk about the woodlands, building envelopes. They talk about existing fence and structures like that, but what I really care about from the Conservation Board is really as it relates to woodlands, the wetlands, and the tiger salamander, so we've incorporated that. The Bridgehampton Fire District had recommendation for hydrants that are different than what the town's Office of Fire Prevention have recommended. Looking at it with Kyle, the houses are going to be up on Leipas Path if they go in that direction, so the hydrant should be located up there, not all the way down on Millstone Road. So, but we'll work through the final part of the process because we have to do final referrals also. So I just highlighted that so we know that there is a little discrepancy. Trails Advisory said there are no trail implications, and then we didn't get any other comments from any of the other agencies, CAC, Health Department, or Landmarks. So the recommendations: all yield, lot areas, dimensions shall be verified at the time of final application with a survey prepared and stamped by a licensed design professional. The next two recommendations are taken directly from the Conservation Board regarding some type of assessment as to whether or not this pond or anywhere near the site is being used as a breeding for the tiger salamander. Again, number 4 talks about the yield map getting verified with a survey, but it seems like the applicant's preferred plan is for the reduced density plan. And we should note that, I think it makes sense if they're going to do the development rights, because we're going to get open space in both scenarios. But the second scenario, we're not going to get the septics and all of it.
Right.
So that's I think, better. I grade this out, TDR concept and plans for the use of the remaining development rights. You raised the question. So we will just note that, at the time of final, if the applicant can provide any information, if there's any specific plans at that time, what they plan to do with those. The affordable housing, we're going to keep in there, and that we're going to, look at it, get a legal interpretation, but that this may be subject to the affordable housing. Compliance with the engineer's comments, and then compliance with the public safety and Bridgehampton Fire District. This will be one that we'll probably have to go back to and do a little work with them. But with that, I think those were all the major issues with that.
Kyle, any problem with any comments on the?
The tiger salamander, the board may recall, a couple years ago off of Millstone Road, you had a subdivision, it's probably, a quarter mile from here, that had that tiger salamander issue. And I'm sure that's why the Conservation Board brought that issue up. It's a relatively close proximity. We'll take a look at the standards under the tiger salamanders, have somebody go out there and do the survey prior to the final.
Yeah,
See if there, if it's actually an issue or not an issue.
good. So our action, Anthony, is to adopt the
With the
pre-application?
changes that I said, to
Yep.
adopt the pre-app report.
Good, very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria,
Second?
second by Craig. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 5 yes, 2 absent.
Thank you,
Kyle.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
One absent.
One
absent.
6 yes.
Craig is here.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Craig.
Come on, man.
I'm doing my job.
I know.
I'll come up here because I don't
Who
have
is the-
the next one, which is Leyland.
Okay. Oh, you're doing Leland, okay.
Leyland. This has been put off a few times. Turns out the ARB did approve this sign 7-8 months ago.
Oh, they did,
so.
okay, great.
It's the Miranda sign. I think everybody was sort of familiar with the Miranda sign on County Route 39 in the Sleepy Shopping Center.
Right.
Sleepy's isn't there anymore. You can't call it that.
What's that?
Mattress.
Sleepy's-
I know, I'm sorry about
That's how
that.
you
That was how
remember
I remembered it, actually. There is a master sign plan that was approved with the site plan. The thing is that the signs have been largely varied throughout time. The only issue with this particular sign in terms of the sign plan was the size of the letter B is just larger than what is allowed. However, the Bottlehampton letters are all larger than what is allowed,
They're
so.
also red.
And, but this sign actually looked pretty good out there. It was there. ARB's approved it, so I was gonna recommend approving it
Yeah.
and being done with it.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Gloria,
second.
second by George, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions, 6 yes, 1 absent.
No. My other stuff, we'll do that one later.
Anthony, you still up, or are you gonna pass?
I'm gonna do everything except the Lewis Road one. We'll do the 2 Lewis Roads together.
Okay,
That makes sense,
so
right,
where are
Dennis?
you taking us?
So Noyak Northview, number 9.
Number 9, okay.
We got a new subdivision.
Do you have
up
any
here.
idea what page it is so we can find the backup?
Do you have everything you need? I have,
I don't know.
You need to know the page number?
Yeah. It's gonna be before 84.
Number 80.
Number 8?
80.
80.
Way too many pages.
I do, I have the area up
You
there.
can
Alright,
see
good.
them at the top too.
Is this the
Each
same as what you
number
sent us?
On the top.
Is what's in the packet the
Corresponds
same
with
as
the
what you
packet.
sent separately?
Yeah, but you need to know which page it's on in this package.
Yeah, like I see 9, and 9 corresponds here, on the top.
All right. We've seen
Oh,
this
okay.
before.
Corresponding.
This,
Yeah, thank you, it's just so light, I couldn't see it. Even with.
So this is the property on Northview Hills Court in Noyak. This property, well, it's also split zoned. It's split zone CR 80 and CR 200, and is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District and the New York State Archaeological Sensitive Area. It's about 12 acres. So the applicant showed, and again, everything in green is the entire tract. So they're showing the 4 lots. One lot within the CR 200, which falls to the south, and then 3 lots in the CR 80, which is on the north. They are showing a little park area that they took out of the yield based on a total of 5 lots, and that was accurate, actually. So they took out that property for the purposes of yield, and they're showing 5 lots. The applicant submitted a cluster plan in which they provide the open space on the northerly here as a chunk, and then a strip down and around on the bottom. If you look at the map up there, the open space to the north makes sense, as there's open space north up there, and it goes further north. And this connection with that additional strip that goes to the south is good because there's trails in there. So we might have to make some changes, but I think overall, this was a pretty decent cluster plan that was submitted that we could look at, and we'll refer to the Trails Advisory and see what comes back. We'll refer to the Conservation Board. So we'll have the open space. Obviously, we're going to prefer the cluster plan. Plus, we'll ask for what the clearing restrictions will be on each property, so we'll get a sense of the total amount of vegetation that would be preserved. The applicant actually submitted some revised plans with just some minor technical information that I asked for. So I was going to recommend that we deem this one complete and schedule the hearing for September 22nd.
Okay. Questions? Do we have a motion?
Is that a private road? What road is that?
Northview Hill?
Northview, I believe
North,
it's...
oh, okay, I'm
That's
sorry, I missed it. Okay, North Table, got it. Okay.
Look at the development in there. I mean, look at all those little squares.
Yeah. That's Noyak.
Yep.
Okay, the action is to deem complete and schedule for the 22nd of September.
Yeah, motion.
Motion by George,
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 yes, 1 absent. Anthony, you're going to do Alice Clifton?
Alice Clifton, so let me just... This is an application, it's a lot line modification for all intents and purposes. These 2 properties are in the CR 80 zoning district. This is in Watermill, and the properties are located on Strong's Lane in Watermill. Scuttle Hole Road is over here, Hayground is over here, 2 lots in question here, both improved. What happened was, as far as I could understand, you had the subdivision that created these 2 lots, or maybe there was, I think it was these 2 lots, a common driveway over here. Whatever happened was the driveway was put over here. The common driveway, there's an easement over here as well that gives this property the right to come over to provide access back there. So what they're looking to do is to correct this map to put the flag strip back over here and have the flag strip to the back moved over here, and then it will still serve as a common driveway for both properties.
Why can't they just keep the easement as is?
I suppose they could. I know the applicant.
Is it an issue with selling the property in the future, or?
It could be. Not here anymore. It was Liz Vale.
Maybe she's outside.
Hi,
The
Liz.
board might have some questions.
We were just wondering, oh, you're gonna have to use the podium. We're on the application of Alice Clifton. Anthony explained the scenario. We was just wondering why you have to flip the flag. Can't you just keep the easement in place and keep everything status quo?
We had to flip the flag. I think that was the intent of this one of the major intentions of the application too. But as far as the rationale, I'd have to get back to you. I don't have that with me today. But I thought it was just on for completeness today, correct?
It was.
It was,
scheduled
yeah.
a hearing.
Yeah.
We would just make the inquiry. Okay.
Yeah.
So, is it complete?
Yeah.
And the 22nd?
It would be September 22nd.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Craig,
Second.
second by George. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 6 yes.
Thank you, board members.
Thanks, Liz.
Right, Dennis, we're going to do the 2 Lewis Road applications.
Yes, absolutely.
That makes sense. So
Are we
then,
ready for that, or?
Let me just do my number 15.
Oh, 15, okay.
Luciana, which is just an extension, the action deadline to adopt the pre-application report for a 3-lot subdivision
Okay.
on Millstone Road. So that's going to be until September 22nd.
22nd. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by George,
Second?
second by Craig. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 6 yes, 1 absent.
And then Gloria, you'll sign the subdivision maps later.
Yeah, I have to say, my packet got out of order, and now I'm, because it's 2-sided and you try to move, I'm a mess.
Better than the iPads.
Here are the packet
Ed.
numbers.
So that's all I have until we do the Lewis Road.
These the,
There'll be the numbers for the packet.
oh, they'll be the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do
great.
you happen to have another packet?
I can get you one.
Do we need to-
You gave me a abandoned packet. Oh, there you go.
I follow along with that.
Okay, Patty, never mind, Craig's giving me his.
Patty gave us the packet numbers. so.
Good afternoon, Board.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
This is my first
Well,
presentation as part of the Planning Department. This is an application that was delivered to our office. It's for a covenant amendment. It's a lot number 14, part of the Woodland Pines subdivision, filed back in 1988. They're requesting for clearing restrictions to be reduced from the required 40% to the 50%, which Aquifer Overlay District currently requires. This request is a request, I believe, that's been made numerous times and presented to the board numerous times. So I'm recommending that we approve this request, and they've submitted the fees. They've also presented draft covenants, and of course, obviously, the approval is subject to approval of the legal documents and also filing of the legal documents. They also provided our office with an up-to-date survey, which shows their current clearing calculation at 46.3%. So this would actually bring them, make them conforming to the 50% that they're requesting.
We get a number of these that are sort of that.
Yes,
that period.
particularly this subdivision as well. There's
Yeah.
been a few of these in the
The
subdivision.
number of these. Okay, pretty straightforward. Do we have a motion to amend the covenant? Anyone?
So just
Just a
what,
quick question.
yeah, go ahead.
Is it cleared up to the new covenant size, or?
Yes. So their current survey dated June 3rd, 2022, shows that they are cleared up to 46.3%.
Okay,
So they would be conforming to the 50%.
okay, thank you.
Do you have an exhibit you could show us?
I don't actually,
Just the resolution
just the resolution, I believe.
is in the packet, not the.
Oh, we don't have an open.
There's no
area.
area.
It should be in the packet.
Okay, so I have a packet
Okay.
here. And,
Page 20 on our
of course,
packet.
it's on my project, but I think his is just before mine. That is the Woodlands Pine. Yeah, no aerials
No aerial,
attached.
okay.
This is the resolution that's for consideration.
And it's consistent with the area?
Yes, so I did a site visit. The existing clearing is consistent with what's on the survey. It's also consistent with the area as well.
Okay, do we have a motion to amend the covenant?
Motion.
Motion by Craig, second by George, all in favor. Aye, opposed, abstentions. 6 yes.
Thanks for being easy.
Right.
First time for everything.
Yes, exactly. So I've got a couple actions for your consideration, and then,
Did you want to do?
Yeah, we'll
number
go in
3?
order.
LIPA?
Yeah.
Number 3?
yeah, so LIPA is.
Page 21 in the packet.
Page 21, yep. That's great. So this is the Leipas substation off of Bridgehampton, Sag Harbor Turnpike. And they came to me a couple months ago in a panic because there's an existing tower on the property that LIPA uses, and T-Mobile is on, right? That's correct. The applicant's representatives here. So that is, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, but I do have a better aerial too. Oh, yep, the aerial's not that great when you zoom in. But it is generally in this corner of the substation, and in a cleared area now. So they would like permission to do a temporary tower, exact same heights, to put their T-Mobile as the substation is being worked on, which is a big project that they're gonna do almost immediately for LIPA, so this is pretty imminent. So your consideration would be to do a site plan under the wireless tower provisions, which would just allow it to be moved to this location on the site.
Do we need a hearing on this, or?
It's up to you. If you think there would be some public interest, again, I'm going to zoom out a tiny bit, but you can see that substantially there's no houses.
Oh.
The up to the right is that village impound yard across the way. So
Is it temporary,
So,
Claire, and then it's gonna go
one-
back?
it is definitely temporary. I'm going to have him speak to this. They rent it from someone, so they're paying money to actually have this temporary structure on the property. They want a real one on the property, a more permanent one, which they're preparing an application that you'll
Oh,
review
okay.
fully for this site, which hopefully has some opportunity for some co-locations, so we can get the carriers on
Yeah.
and just have one tower in this area, so, which makes sense. It's
So what's happening with the existing one that's, they're doing work around that?
gonna be removed,
Oh, it is.
yeah.
So put up a temporary one, then, and activate that, then deactivate the one that's there now, take it down?
Correct.
That
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
And then come back in. with
Charlie, do you
regular
mind
application
introducing
for
yourself?
for a permanent one?
Just
Okay.
use the podium, Charlie, and state your name.
Charlie Como from T-Mobile. I'm the project development manager for Long Island. This project came to us from LIPA. They were expanding the power in the substation. Unfortunately, we're a tenant, and the area that they needed is exactly where the pole is, which supports the Bridgehampton area. So we did a study to see if we could eliminate the pole, and that would be it. But it turns out that pole takes in a lot of traffic for the Bridgehampton area, and it would really hurt the customers in the area for cell coverage. So with that, they gave us a position outside the fenced-in
Got a better plan,
substation,
too.
which is basically right on their fence line. It's about 200 feet away. And we're putting a temporary pole there, which we did some RF studies to make sure that the coverage in the area would still be sufficient, and it was. And it's a temporary pole, and we want to put in a permanent pole on the Leipa property. And it's basically, I guess, around 200 feet from the temporary pole. And it would be larger in height and in size, but not that intrusive because it's a wooded area. So we'd have to clear out the woods to put it in. And it would be 125 foot tall, and it can support 3 carriers.
The permanent one?
Permanent one.
Would be 125 feet.
How much clearing do you have to do?
Clearing in the area wouldn't be very much.
No clearing with this, actually.
Not
Oh, no?
No clearing with this. If you would
The
see
temporary,
on
there's
the-
no clearing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there'd be no clearing with this
It's on a
action.
flat, piece of property. We did a geotech. We did all the geotech planning on it, so make sure there's no problems underneath. And we also did a geotech in the area that we are proposing to put the permanent site. So it's basically, it's like 28 feet by 34 feet. It'll be fenced in as well, but it's.
The temporary.
The temporary.
Right.
And it'll also be right alongside the current substation. And it'll be 90 feet tall, same as the existing one now, and it will suffice the area. And that will give Leipa the opportunity to expand the power in the substation, because we were told that they needed to bring some more power into the area.
What's the time frame on this?
Time frame to do it is yesterday. Leipa came to me in a panic that they had to get it moved quickly, that they're like a year and a half behind on this. So I was like under the gun to get this all together. So we did a whole set of CDs, lease exhibits, geotechs, and structural analysis. We went with the more stringent hurricane standards for the pole. We went about 20% higher. Normally for that area, it would be about 130 miles per hour on the winds. We went to 150. So we did our due diligence, and Leipa approved the plans, and we need to do it for them and for our own coverage area.
How long will that temporary pole be up for?
Well, we're gonna try and do a speed on this, because it's gonna cost us around $2,000 a month just to rent the pole. So T-Mobile wants to get rid of that fast.
Right.
So we're looking to do it within a year.
And how
We
long
get all
would
the plans and planning, and the town's approval, and we gotta do all the due diligence with the town. And
How much overlap time between when you get the temporary up and the existing one down? Because some people might be concerned when they see 2 poles,
Okay, the overlap would be basically, it's gonna take us maybe about 3-4 weeks to put everything up, get the pole in place, and we pretty much have this down to a science. We do it all over the place, especially on water facilities. Water tanks, when they do the rehabs, we put up temporary poles, and UBS Arena, Nassau Coliseum. We've done them in many areas, down in Jones Beach areas, temporarily for the summer. So it goes relatively fast. We're figuring about a month to put the pole up, and the decom will take a couple of days.
Yeah.
It's not a very big site, so, it just really consists of right now, a 90-foot wooden pole and two basically radio cabinets and some peripheral equipment. Everything is there that we need to relocate. We have power there, obviously, so that just has to be relocated, and we have transport there currently, and that just has to be relocated. So it wouldn't like we would be bringing in any generators that have to use diesel fuel or anything like that. Everything is there. We wouldn't have to do any microwave shots for the transport either, because it's all there, which is which is unique, because other locations, we have to consider that, and then you gotta do more environmental, for that. Here, it's just really a simple move.
And is this, on the bottom of that photo, is that the access coming into the site?
Yes, there's a paved road.
Okay.
Do you want to see the aerial? This
Okay,
shows it best.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
Oh, so
Yeah, I
that's-
can see it.
Yeah, that's right there, and we're gonna be pretty much at the entrance of the substation, just outside of it.
And where's I know we're not considering that today, but we are kind of.
It's
So,
about-
Where's the new location?
The
of
new location,
Loophole?
you see where the road is, and then it makes the left?
Yeah.
About
We're gonna
here.
be right where the left is, a little bit up further. And we'll be maybe about 100 feet in.
Are you already working the planning on?
We're
the
already working
application?
on the planning for that, yes.
So at the risk of overstating the obvious, that approval of this in no way constitute approval of the new
Right,
application.
No vested.
that's just it, yeah.
That's
You
the
know.
opposite word. So
So
clear-
it's basically one step at a time, Let's get the temporary up so we can get the existing one down, and then they can expand the power and
Yeah.
do whatever expansion they need to do to the area.
So clear.
Plus, the other benefit to putting up the new pole will be that the area will then be given the opportunity to have more technologies out there. Our current situation with the substation, with the existing pole, we really can't expand anything on it because it's a wooden pole and it's got 3 antennas on it and it's a flush mount. So you really can't give you the 5G that you need in the area and stuff like that. The new pole will definitely improve the technology for the area.
Good.
Clear,
Yeah,
we're not looking at a public hearing on this, and what's our, this, like,
I don't have a problem writing something up for this. I think all your points are good, no vested rights. We'll have
Yeah.
something that written as a condition that they'll have to respond to. I would say maybe put a time limit on this. They'd have to come back to you, give them 2 years of temporary,
Yeah.
But I think you're looking to submit something within the next 6 months, right?
Oh, before the next 6
Okay.
months.
So maybe do something like that, and submit for pre-submission for your new application next 6 months. So we keep on top of it too, the temporary doesn't become really permanent.
And if the old one gets taken down as soon as possible after the temporary's up, I think that's another.
I like that point
Yes,
too.
that will come
Two
down.
poles sticking
Yeah.
up may
3
draw
months maybe
attention.
Yeah.
on that one?
90 days, yep.
90 days
And it's
on
the
that?
same technology
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
going up
That's good.
from the old one onto the new one?
Yeah, it'll be the same technology.
Is that a reasonable timeframe, the 90 days?
Yes, more than reasonable.
Great. And I'm going to specify.
Once again, we look at time and money, so.
Yeah.
Most people do.
And T-Mobile, after the Sprint merge, they are looking at money.
Yeah. 20, I'll say the area 28 by 48. I'll say no clearing. I'll have a survey showing that, so I'll write it up, but I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you tomorrow so you see it.
We can act on this today, though.
I would be comfortable with that.
Very good. Let's get it going. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria,
Second.
second by Tom, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstentions? You have 6 yes, 1 absent.
Great,
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Now my next one is Blessing Fields. This is Jackie's. This is in
Page number, stand by.
29.
29?
Yes. I also use page numbers, so.
But only for yourself.
Nope. So this is the resolution. So this is an application, I think the board's familiar with you had a pre-submission report. Jackie had handled it. This is for a new building for a special trade contractor. This is the aerial. And they're before the zoning board of appeals for, I believe, pyramid law. Existing.
It's a narrow.
It's a
Very
narrow lot, and they're proposing 2 structures that would impede that. So actually, the applicants, when they first submitted to the ZBA, they have modified it to be more conforming. And they're getting ready for the ZBA, and they've asked, there was a coordination from the zoning board of appeals, and the planning board assumed lead agency on this application. And that was back in, yes, in April. This would be to issue a negative declaration for this unlisted action. And so this is a short form, it's unlisted, so I reviewed the standards here, and all the standards were no or small impact. This is also a situation where they are doing cross-access. I just wanted to show you that to you in the rear.
Oh, yeah.
This would be the area for Good Ground Road extension, and they are proposing the cross-access along the rear. So I put that right in the documents in the part 3, specifically referencing that. Okay.
Great. So we have several actions. The first is,
Actually, just one action.
One action
You are
to-
issuing a negative declaration, and that will go back to the zoning board of appeals so they can make a determination
Oh, okay,
before a
that's
site plan application is submitted. for
Okay.
review. Okay?
great. Do we have a motion for a neg deck, Blessing Fields? Tom?
Sure.
Motion by Tom, second by George, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions, 6 yes.
Great.
You want to do wireless towers, West Hampton Cemetery?
Yeah. This
Not
was
a secret?
a situation where, back in May, they presented to you the, visual analysis that you had requested, for this site plan application that has been submitted, site plan special exception application. So this, if you recall, it's all turned around on the aerial, but this is the cemetery property.
Oh, yeah.
The expansion, so there's no cemetery on the property now, but they're proposing a cell tower in the corner. And this is the actual aerial which shows the visual viewpoints. And you had looked at them, when you're on, right in front of the property, you're gonna have the most visual. Here and here, there was none. Here, when you're again in front of the property, and here, you're gonna have these 3 were the most visible spots. But you'd ask for some more points, like here and here, on the south ends, to see if there was any more visual in there. So they went ahead and they did that in the latest iteration of the plans. So these are the 2 maps that show that. I sent that to you because it's very large documents.
I was gonna say, you sent us a bunch of.
Yeah,
pictures.
I did. So, but I have it. I have the presentation book. Actually, Charles, I think we're going to have Steve Narada come in, who's the applicant's representative on it. So I'm not quite sure if he's trying to get in. Thank you. And then Bailey Larkin's here too for any questions. But I'm going to have him explain the pictures to you, and so you can understand it before we talk about secret.
I actually drove around that neighborhood. I went in there and just to get a feel for it.
Okay.
It's very dense in there. You're not going to be able to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
that
is-
neighborhood's safe. They're okay.
Right, yeah. And just so you recall, since we had a pre-submission and you were concerned about the visual and the impacts on it, they have reduced the height of the pole from 125 to 105 in this case.
Oh, okay.
So it has been reduced. So I think that assists on that.
Good afternoon, this is Steve Naroda with Aris Design. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi there. So yeah, just to follow on what Claire was summarizing, we added 5 picture points or viewpoints or based on our last discussion at a previous work session. And basically we just went out to, we added on the map, can you see my map on the screen?
Yeah.
So we added viewpoint 13, which is located at Crestview and Baycrest. Castleview and Baycrest. I just want I'll walk you through where we took the pictures, and then I'll show you the images themselves. Numerical order, viewpoint 14, we were at Bishop Ave and South Road. And then 15, we were at Fiddler Crab Trail. 16, we're at Plumegrass Way. And then 17, we're at the bend at Bishop Avenue here. So I'm gonna just go down to, I'm gonna go to viewpoint 13 here. So this is that intersection of Baycrest Avenue and Castleview, looking to the west. So you can see a significant amount of tree cover or canopy cover in the area that we think would block the view of the tower. Viewpoint 14 is at Bishop Ave intersection with South Road. So we're looking northwest. It's a large stand of arborvitae here, and then there's backed by a canopy of trees. 15 is at Fiddler Crab Trail. We're looking northwest here. 16 is Plumegrass Way. And 17 is that corner on Bishop Avenue. So we're looking northwest. It's pretty dense cover of trees here. And then on the west side of Beaver Dam Pond, you see a good stand of trees on that side as well. And that's the 5 images we added to the presentation.
On the previous set of images, didn't you show theoretically where the top of the tower would be?
We did, yeah. So on all the other images, we have modeled in the tower location. In our previous discussion at the work session, we had discussed that we didn't need to do that. We just wanted you asked us to come and just take images to just get a sense of what it looks like there, but we didn't add in the modeling of it.
Yeah, you had asked just for the images to see what the vegetation would look like, and you can get an idea. Well, this one's more, halfway or whatever, but the rest of them are full, pretty much vegetation. So.
Out of the images that you showed us, is there a preferred spot that you would recommend?
For preferred spot for what? I'm sorry.
The tower?
These
Oh, no,
are
that-
just
yeah, it's-
showing it like if you saw a tower in the background, what would that be? I think we maybe show her maybe a previous example.
Sure.
Or-
Sorry, I'll give
Sorry
you
to be a little naive.
Sorry,
Show
I'll give you a little more
example.
context. So the
Yeah.
proposed cell tower is in this location.
I see.
And so what we did was when we put together this presentation, we went to 18 different points to take pictures.
I understand.
from
I'm
public
sorry
right-of-way.
about that.
So no worries. So viewpoint 1, I'll just give you an example. This is standing at that viewpoint 1. What we do is we flew the drone, and you can't see it because of the stand of pines we have there.
Right.
The next point is viewpoint 2, Bowie Avenue. You can see the drone, and then you are able to see the tower. Let me go on to viewpoint 3. You see the drone and the tower.
Yep.
So
I was
that was sort of how we
confused
walked
about-
it through. So most of the locations you don't see it, but as you get closer, when you go back to that map, when you're around the vicinity of the proposed cell tower, you're seeing it. But once we get out into the periphery, the tree stand the canopy is large enough that it's blocked.
And that's where some of the houses are adjacent, so they
Right.
wouldn't see it.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that was the concern about the
Yeah, especially.
view for the public, and then, the proximity for houses. You can see this if you're in those
Is there any
locations.
health concern with any of the cell tower location?
There's actually, I'm gonna have the applicant just address that a little bit, but there is presentation at the public hearing portion,
Okay.
to that effect,
Okay.
yes. That it's been addressed, per the law. But there's a lot to it, actually. So
Sure.
she's more articulate than I am on it.
Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed, offices at 212 Windmill Lane. We had submitted with the application an emissions study that was conducted by a company provided you're below the standards that the emissions are allowed to be at, you can proceed with an application, and it's not a health risk. The study we submitted is based on 100% of whatever the government standard is for health emissions, and this facility is actually like a 1% out of the 100%. So we did submit that study, and it is part of the record. And also at the public hearing, if we can schedule a public hearing for this, hopefully, I will have an expert available who can actually explain to you the contents of the report and give some assurances to the board.
Thank you.
And this in no way will interfere with Gabreski Airport communications and/or traffic.
Nope, they actually are going to be required to have an FAA determination of no hazard to air navigation
Okay.
prior to any sort of construction application filed. So they will be doing that. There's no interference with communications equipment. They actually design these facilities. And this site, actually, when we revised it down to 105 feet, we also added on AT&T, so the board's aware. So there's going to be 3 carriers on here, which is great because you'll have less towers in one area. So it'll have Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T all on one facility.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, or more questions on the application?
So have you identified any,
No, any significant issues? No, I have not. This is the wireless tower, part.
And this is in the cemetery property?
Correct, the one that's not developed yet. They own it. When
I see.
the Baileys, I'm not quite sure if you remember the Baileys Motel, and
Yeah.
it was split off. Most of it's open space, but small portion because they grew the other cemetery. So they have another site, and this will be developed as a cemetery.
I see.
So, which is good. No, residential, one of the standards for residential is appropriate setbacks from residential, and this project does meet that standard, so. So the only, I have identified no significant environmental issues related to this. The board had actually reviewed this prior, and the one issue was the visual in this case. So this is the document. Do you want to go through them? Do you feel more comfortable if we go through the standards, or?
have you identified any significant impact?
No, no significant. The only variance, and I just want to be very clear about this so everybody's on board. Get back to the site plan here. The only variance that you would be issuing, which you have the power to issue, is the proximity to the other property lines variances. So you have to do 100%, which is 105. It's shorter than that. What is it, 70, I think? Is it closer? Sorry, I'm just doing. 2210 and 18.7, okay. I just overshoot it again, sorry.
We pushed the proposed tower location and compound to the kind of northeast corner of the lot, which abuts the open space that's town-owned, I believe. We did that for a couple of reasons. First, it won't interfere with the cemetery operation. We kind of located it so that the cemetery can develop this property as they need to. But secondly, it pushes the tower as far from Montauk Highway and the residences along Seabreeze as possible. What we can do is we can provide an engineering report just confirming that there's not going to be any risk of the tower falling over the property line. The sites are engineered so that if there's some sort of significant issue with the structure, they kink essentially and collapse on themselves. So at the public hearing, we can have our architect explain it to the board to make sure that you're comfortable with that. This board has in the past approved facilities along property lines like that. For example, on the Puppy Mongo property in Hampton Bays, there's a tower located right against the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And also in Bridgehampton on the Foster Avenue property, that site as well was kind of engineered to make sure that there's no interference with the adjacent property, but it affords the ability to increase distances from residences and from the commercial properties to the south. So.
And a better location to get away from the visual impact to
Yeah.
the road. So I think that all helps. So that would be a variance that you'd be issuing at the end of the project. So.
It's a balancing act.
It is, and it's also, again, open space to the north. So it's not like going to interfere with residences, which is one of the big standards that you
What
want
we've
to meet.
learned with these monopoles, as opposed to the older lattice towers, is they don't fall. When they fail, they actually crumble. They cave in on themselves. They don't. The lattice towers have this, so
Right.
probably should update the code at some point.
Yeah, it helps with setbacks too.
Yeah.
You don't know what the use is next door. In this case, you're doing this balancing act that the use next door is never going to be developed residential. But if it was, you'd want that 100-foot setback.
Yeah.
So, but in this case, it'll always be open space next door. So I think it works in this case.
Good.
So yeah, I'm recommending a negative declaration and
declaration.
to deem the application complete and scheduling a public hearing for September 22nd.
Second is one resolution, right?
Please,
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria. Second by Kate. What was that? I'm
was
sorry,
Craig.
Craig. Sorry, Craig.
Come on.
Oh,
Threw his voice over here.
the Rodney Dangerfield of the board today. Okay, all in favor, aye. Opposed, abstentions. We have 6 yes.
Poor baby.
What was
Oh,
that
boy.
date, Claire?
September 22nd.
2, okay.
Yeah.
The draft says the 8th.
Are you going to do farm supply, Claire?
I
So-
am.
Okay,
So
item
this-
7.
this-
And
yeah.
your packet,
It's right after this one. I
right after
found
this
it.
one.
So 63.
Let's make it easy.
63, I have the resolution, and 64, I have the aerial. So if you remember this, we did a pre-submission report on
Yeah,
this.
the old Roscoe Farm.
Yeah, so they want to retain it for a retail nursery use with office warehousing as an existing second-floor apartment that they're rehabilitating.
I hope they're rebuilding it.
They are.
They're preserving.
The applicant's representative's here, so he can speak to that. So we assumed lead agency, it's a type 1 action, more than 50 parking spaces. They assumed lead agency last week and last meeting, and this would be to issue a negative declaration and schedule the public hearing. The only caveat is that the town engineer, they had new plans for the town engineer that they submitted 3 weeks ago. I gave it to the town engineer, and he was fine with this being deemed complete, knowing that we're going to work on the engineering issues as we review the application. So in this case, they also do have a time frame. I would recommend that we do this for the September 8th meeting, which I know we're
Right.
holding for another project. But this, I had no public interest
It
in
should
the
be
first one,
pretty
so it should be
straightforward.
pretty
And they're on a time crunch, so Claire and I talked early in the week about
Yeah.
getting this on the 8th.
Well, the other option you could do, and maybe the applicant can speak to this, is you could waive the public hearing. I just think it's very visible, so you might want to just see
Yeah,
if anybody's
probably.
interested.
I mean, it's on a major
Probably a good
road
idea to,
And
you know,
and a highway.
Yeah.
And the traffic study part of it will be later?
So in this case, the traffic is a low generating traffic use compared to other things. But did you want to have some kind of traffic analysis on this? We didn't ask for that at the
Yeah,
time.
my-
But I know there was an entrance issue. We
Yeah.
wanted to look at the entrance issue.
And I guess my only concern, and I don't know, it's the chicken and the egg.
Mm.
We've got the pool application across the street,
Mm-hmm,
and then we've also got the concerned
mm-hmm,
public housing project
Mhm.
that's also being suggested to use North McGee Street
mm-hmm.
as a way to get any place.
Yeah,
And so I don't know where we fit. Now we've got three things going on
okay.
on the same street.
No, that's
And-
it's a good
and
point.
The town was looking at that for that left turn signal already. I
Mhm.
don't know if that's been integrated into some of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know
Eventually
where this fits, because every time we do a one-off and we say, well, it has no impact, but cumulatively, it has to. That's why the roads don't move now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just raising that issue. I don't know where we say we have to look at all of this.
Right, right.
What are the other uses, just to
The,
fill me
the,
in?
the application for a pool, just
They're
beyond the
not
gas
approved yet.
station, south of the gas station. And then there's the housing development by the church on the highway,
That's
just
what,
a
that's
little
much
bit west.
further up, further east of it.
Further
There's a
west.
frontage on Hubbard, do we know, Claire?
No, they don't.
They don't.
No, it used to be owned together, but I don't think you didn't.
Oh, the property doesn't go down to Hubbard?
He's asking if this property to the south is part of the application. It's not, right?
For Steve Mazaneski, owner of Southampton Farm Style Apply, 512 County Road 39. That is, no, it's not. That's part of, that other 1 acre lot is, at this time, is part of Southampton Nursery there.
Okay.
There's a couple of concerns. The first is with the traffic. We did look into this, and that is the reason we designed the new parking and the entrance to be as far south on the property as you could go, to keep it away from the light, so that anybody pulling in or pulling out of our property would be the minimal impact on the traffic at the light. And we also made sure that we didn't do the entrance on County Road 39 to impede traffic coming in and out of 39, which we all know is very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I think your application is probably way more benign than the other two I mentioned, and I'm just raising the issue in general, not, and I don't know if it's
Yes.
appropriate to even be applied to your application.
Mhm.
I'm just saying, we've got 3 things coming down the pike.
Correct.
This is the first one that we're probably going to finalize.
Mhm.
Where do we start the conversation about the cumulative effect?
Yeah, I do know there's been several traffic studies been done on that intersection already. I know Bob Morrow, when they were proposing the shopping center, did
That's-
several traffic studies.
That's one of the reasons it didn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean, that is would generate a lot of traffic. This is going to be very minimal. It's going to be a small garden center with an office there, so the
Yeah,
traffic.
I mean,
is gonna be-
personally, I think it's a great reuse,
Yes,
so.
and
I just,
one,
I'm not suggesting that
yes.
it's your application.
I understand. And then the only concern we have with timeline here is it's been a year now that we've owned it, that the building's been exposed to the elements, and we're really trying to get a new roof on there and get it from any more damage to the interior structure of all the old beams and everything, because we're looking to repurpose and reuse the existing structure. One concern I did have, Claire, that if you look at page 6 here, it states retaining and repurposing of existing historic structure. This is not a historic structure, and I was just wondering if we could take the word historic out of there.
Old?
Yeah, yeah.
I go old, that's
It
fine.
does not meet the standards to be considered historic in the town of Southampton. I'd rather not have that in there, because it would restrict you once it's deemed
Yeah.
historic. But other than
I could
that,
say old, or something to that
They
effect.
do
Yeah.
get used a little interchangeably sometimes.
yes. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that everybody understood it was not deemed historic.
Iconic.
If anyone has any other
Iconic.
questions, I mean, we're just looking to restore and reuse the barn and just, make it beautiful.
I think,
How about
I
iconic?
applaud that.
It is iconic.
Iconic.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, iconic, there you go.
Yeah.
Pristine?
Good job.
Good.
Um, I guess there was no findings of the archaeological study, anything?
There was not,
Okay.
yeah, I have a Phase 1A, Phase 1B, and there was no findings at all on the property, and they recommended no further investigation, so,
Okay, thanks.
no, that's good.
And they did a complete archaeological dig and everything, and they found nothing.
Sounds like a great project.
I do want to speak to your issue, Gloria, because I did speak to the town engineer this morning. He did have he is now Tom also. He's got so many hats, it's
taken.
incredible. But he did say there's a study for the intersection that the town has been working on. He also did say, and I hadn't gotten a chance to speak to the applicant because this is this morning, that he's going to recommend, and obviously it's the county's road, to take this bus lane that is here and make it a right-hand turn, which would be something that would be advantageous for everybody, and move the bus parking lot to the west a little bit. So he's thinking about that. And not necessarily affects him, we'll do a referral to the county on this, but I think we would in this case probably say yes to a corner radius, and sometimes the county does come back and ask for the 5-foot easement along the road, so we'll see what they say during their process. So this is not the final,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm
look
just
at it.
raising it because I happen to use McGee Street myself
Yes,
a lot, and I know how awful it can be
Mhm.
at certain times of the day.
yeah, definitely.
Especially the
Question
stacking
about
up to make that left.
the
Oh, yeah,
impact on
absolutely.
groundwater.
And Sure.
Obviously,
They don't
there's
have
probably not an
a
input
delayed
as much,
green
but
signal.
how much does a
So,
retail nursery use in
When you
terms of
see the light
groundwater as
turning
we're
red,
seeing?
Minimal, it's gonna be more of
Jump into
hardscape
the
landscaping,
Sunoco
it's not gonna
station.
be trees and bushes that are
Because
being
there's
watered.
no,
Oh, okay.
So there,
Really?
basically, there will be none.
that the county could do.
Claire,
Do you have this, do you have the sanitary system information on this?
do I have what?
Probably. The flow? Was it on your
I
plans?
think it is on there.
Yeah.
One of the plans.
So you, but you
Claire-
need an IA system?
Yes, AIA
Okay.
system, which will be upgraded, and it's city water. One thing, the county did come back, my engineers already spoke with the county. They came back with their changes, and that's the reason the plans were resubmitted to the engineers, because we've added all of the county's requirements.
With probably sidewalks and such and all of that.
As far as they made us change the sidewalks out front, redo the sidewalks, make them the handicapped accessible.
Yeah, I think that's more what he's talking about, is more like a long-range plan.
Yeah, yeah,
not
but as of
affecting
right
your
now,
application.
we've already gone to Suffolk County.
Mhm.
They've given us all their engineered requirements. We've changed our plans to meet what they wanted.
Okay, well, we did a referral at the time of the coordination,
Mhm.
and then we'll do another referral at the time of
Okay.
our site plan. when we deem this
Yeah,
complete.
I just want to have it in the record because it's something that we're not, we need to address more than we are right now,
Mhm.
so that, I'm just raising the flag.
Yeah, I think it's a great, no, definitely, it's
So
definitely a
that,
good issue.
that study, the traffic signal study the town was doing isn't complete. Sounds like it's
As far
not.
as I know, it's
Right.
not, yes. There's preliminary discussions from it, but it's not been complete, yes. But I am going to ask Tom specifically if this is the right location for the driveway. To me, it makes sense because it's the furthest south. But it may make sense maybe for a lineup with someone across the street, might make sense to adjust it a little bit. So we'll ask him.
The problem is the stacking in the afternoon. starts
100%.
2 o'clock in the afternoon, stacking to make that left turn
Yeah.
on, at McGee Street, and it goes all the way down, sometimes to Hubbard.
Yep.
There's
always trouble fitting another
turn lane
with Yeah.
enough of a
Does it run away from the building, or does it run towards the building? Because I know you had that berm situation.
As of right now, the roadside, there's a berm where all of the runoff runs into County Road 39. All of that is going to be excavated and will be at street level. There's drainage in the front to catch the runoff now, and there's also an AIA septic system that will be installed in the front. The backside of the property is also proposed to be street level with a retaining wall along the backside. That way, because as of right now, I have videos, when it rains, all the water comes off of the property and just rushes out into the road. So all of that will be eliminated, and if you see on the site plan, there's a very detailed drainage plan to catch of all of our runoff from the site and
Claire, is it
everything.
possible to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, no, I can.
The pool's right on the south side of the building, yep.
So you can see that entire cluster, and then there's piping going around to the front.
Yeah.
So that it is calculated so that it will retain all of our own runoff on the,
And
on
that's
the
what I was
property.
asking about, if
Yes.
you're capturing that, can
Yep.
it be used on the property as well?
It could if we, but there's really not going to be a use for it.
Oh, like an
Because you're
irrigation
doing
well?
hardscape versus.
Yeah, yeah, I
plants.
mean, the majority of, due to the town requirements, the majority of the property is going to be parking lot now.
Can't you use it for your plants?
Yeah, as I was explaining, it's going to be mostly hard goods, more so it's not just going to be big trees all over the place. So it's, the majority will be hard goods and small plants you can pick up, so there won't be a lot of water consumption.
And you're getting the roof fixed. I remember we met on that, right?
Excuse me.
You were getting the roof repaired.
Yes, there will
That
be a
was
new
an
roof.
expedited-
4 dormers, the foundation needs to be replaced and repaired. There's quite a major renovation we need to do. That's why we really wanted to get that building. The foundation's collapsing on itself. The roof, obviously, we've provided you guys with photographs last winter of the water coming inside. So we really want to get it closed up before the wintertime this
How
year.
did that north wall hold up? Because I know you get that, you're right.
They actually have old beams in there that they put up to keep the wall from collapsing. So all that needs to be repaired, and it's going to be an undertaking,
I applaud you.
so.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it every single day when I drive by, and finally one day I was like, that'd be a cool building to have my
It is,
office
it's,
in.
it's iconic.
It's, yeah, it was calling out used me.
It is. So,
So does this, so when you take all this, because it's interesting, when you take all this fill away,
Yep.
doesn't that make this building like higher?
no, the building, I'm glad you asked that, Claire.
Yeah.
We are going to have, it'll be the cedar shakes on the front, as everybody
Right.
has suggested.
Uh-huh.
And I'm actually gonna do granite fascia on the
Okay,
the
so it'll
sides.
be granite,
And that's shown on the
then
plans.
the cedar up above it.
Correct, so
Okay.
it's not just gonna be a big wall you're looking at, it will be beautiful granite,
And this is, I think,
fascia,
your
so-
planting plan, right? So
Yep,
this
and the
one-
planting plan, it'll be blocking it out.
Okay, so you'll have more plants in here.
Correct, that's
Okay.
gonna be lawn right on the highway, and then you have the big trees. You really can't even see the building in the summertime when
You
those trees
can,
are in bloom.
right, the trees are great.
So-
And they'll remain, these ones.
Correct, I was gonna have
Right.
someone come in and prune them just to
Yeah.
make sure they're healthy.
Okay.
And then we're gonna utilize the existing vegetation along McGee Street with adding to it and a little berm to.
This one right here, which is
Yeah.
great. It's a good
So when you
standard
drive by,
trees.
you'll just see the facade of the building and parking lot driving in, and you really, it's gonna be hidden,
Okay,
so.
good. Great. Any more questions?
So, it's gonna be the same thing, one action of
Please, yeah.
negative declaration,
Mm-hmm.
application complete, and
Assessment.
hearing on the 8th. Is
Please.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate all your guys' help, thank you
Thanks,
very
Steve.
much.
Yeah, we're happy you're doing it.
Thank you for doing it. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Kate, second by George, all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions? 6 yes, 1 absent.
So 9/8 was the,
9/8, yes.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty straightforward application. Again, it was Jackie's application, Pazinelli. This is for the farm, the 9 acres of clearing.
Flower farm.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
This is, we received an application and
Page
is
79 in
notice
the
to
packet.
action. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, 79.
79.
Just the resolution. You're familiar with the location, right?
Yep.
Okay. And, well, I think I might even have the area, no? Nope. Yes, this is it. This is the site plan. So this would be for the clearing associated with the farm they want to establish on the property. You had a very thorough pre-submission, and now they've submitted an application. And in this case, we're recommending a coordination with the county. This, the county, Council on Environmental Quality. They're the ones who determine if it's a farm activity on the property, so we want to have their feedback prior to doing an environmental determination on this. So I'm going to send out that referral, and once we receive it, we'll be back before you to consider secra.
question is, a flower farm?
I think sunflowers.
What's that?
I think sunflowers.
Okay. Does that include marijuana growth?
Oh, I have no idea.
For some reason, I'm remembering that, I don't know whether I read that in the paper or we had this discussion here, that they were applying or got a state license.
I remember the same thing, I don't know where I heard it.
Yeah.
Because the site to the east and the west is residential,
Oh, yeah,
and I would think that would be an inappropriate use of land.
okay,
Not that I have a problem with marijuana growth in the right spot,
mhm,
that would be the wrong spot.
okay. As far as I know, that's what they're representing is the flower.
Have they set any special standards for growth, other than state license? Do we have any siting standards?
No, this is beyond me. I don't have
No,
this information.
We don't,
Right.
We don't.
not yet.
Just,
So
I
we
think,
can't-
so-
We can't
And that
impose
was
any
put over
restrictions
until
on?
the 8th.
I don't know that we
Is
can.
that considered an ag use?
We'd have to bounce that over to Christine. If, absent any specific standards, do we have any abilities to impose restrictions or setbacks, limitations?
Arguably, you do, but there is some discussion about that, which is why the town board put off their legislation until October 8th, because
Yeah.
there is an argument apparently that the state is seeking to preempt the municipalities on what they can and can't do. If this does fall under an ag and markets designation, which I don't believe that it is currently, if it were to do that, then you kind of would be hamstringed, but right now it's not.
as far as I know.
So we'd probably grab it under us, the only thing we could grab it under is the secret review.
That's why I think we're recommending coordination and getting as much information as possible.
And who would be coordinating with, again, the health department?
The county Council on Environmental Quality, which is, you can tell I've never referred it to
The
them
Council
before.
on Environmental Quality?
Yes.
For the county?
Yeah, they're the ones who designate it as an ag district at the end of the day. They're
Okay.
the ones who say, yes, this is an ag use on this property.
Dennis,
So-
are you saying we would restrict the use or define the use under secret?
Well, we could possibly examine it. Is it unlisted or unlisted action, Claire?
Unlisted, yes.
So, I mean, it would buy us a little bit of time to get this ironed out with the state and the town.
Okay, well, I'm gonna bring this up to Janice, obviously this is a concern, and obviously, and her department's working diligently on this issue.
Yeah,
Town board.
I don't think they're working on growing, I think they're working on places.
Oh, I think it's all, I
Is
think
it
it's the
okay?
whole
'Cause-
package, oh, yeah. But I also will, when we bring it back to you, so that today, if we coordinate today, August 11th, then we don't get a response, hopefully, if we do get a response, it could be sooner, this would be back before you September 22nd. And that time, you would determine lead agency, and I think a full discussion on this issue is probably
Okay.
warranted.
The
You
applicant-
would still have time to do the secret determination, but we would have a full discussion on this issue. And
What about coordinating with state and who would that be?
it would be only with involved agencies, which is our approving authorities, and the only other approving authority in this case is the Council on Environmental Quality.
Okay.
So this would be the only other entity.
But Christine, this is coming down the pike, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I understand that we have home rule.
Mm-hmm.
In the event they get an ag exemption from the county, we lose home rule?
I think it's more an issue is if they have a bona fide exemption as an agricultural, if they're seen as a bona fide agricultural use under whatever state statutes come out, you're kind of done. It's an ag use. You're preempted from.
So it could be that it's, like on the federal level, USDA or FDA, and then on the state, it would be Ag and Markets or like Department of Health, or?
The state would be the ag and markets law. I can't speak to the federal, I don't know.
So at the state level, if it's deemed not an ag use, a medical use, what's the state department that would?
They're gonna issue a statute at some point, or they're not. And if the statute or case law over time establishes that it is a bona fide agricultural use or falls within the ag and markets law, then it bears the same protection as any other. I think that hemp is covered, I don't know if anybody knows.
I think it is.
Under ag and markets law. But it is different technically, but that is covered. So, it's a question of, do they want to stretch it to include cannabis? I'm hopeful that they will provide some guidance on what their intentions are prior to us being bound one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are two facilities, one in Bridgehampton and one in Watermill, that have gotten state licenses to grow marijuana.
For hemp, no? Oh, for
Marijuana.
Marijuana, okay.
But it still hasn't been determined whether or not it's under the ag and markets law.
And I don't know when that license takes effect.
They're not supposed to have rules out until, I think, the end of September. It keeps getting pushed back, so who knows when it's gonna be, but it's it's the reason why the town board put off the dispensary discussion and where they imagine seeing things until at least
End of
October.
December, you said?
September, but that could be pushed further, because they
Yeah.
were supposed to have them out a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah. I'm just a little fearful that we, kind of backdoor some, a use into a residential
Yeah.
prior to, any kind of decision by the state.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I definitely understand that.
But that could be any ag easement, right? Like the one that we just looked at before.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Right, so, it's unlikely that that would occur, but worth consideration. Not just on this one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ag easements that abut residential areas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the point of this one is that it's not ag yet.
Right.
It was a fully vegetated piece of property. They went and unilaterally cleared it, and that's where we have them in the process. So it definitely needs some oversight. So that's what we're just gonna do in this case. We'll get the information from hopefully the council responds and has something constructive to say, and we'll continue the conversation.
We're not on the clock.
We are on the clock, but they have a complete application in front of us, and that's where you do secra prior to the
Yeah,
complete application. So yes, we are starting the clock. And we can't do anything else. The code
Yeah.
requires us to do it.
So now we're starting the 62-day clock?
No, we're starting the clock for secra.
Okay.
This would be coordination. They have 30 days to respond. If they do not respond, the next date would be September 22nd to assume lead agency, and then you have essentially 2 more weeks to make a decision because of our timeframes of when we meet. So it would be October 13th to do a secret determination in this case, and it's probably warranted that there probably might be some conditions related to this. So maybe a condition deck might be in order, so.
We need a resolution to coordinate, correct?
This would be a resolution to coordinate
Okay.
with the Suffolk County
Okay.
Council.
Okay.
Do we have motion?
Motion.
Motion by Kate, second by Gloria, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, extensions? 6 yes. Are we ready to go with Louis, or Anthony, you ready to go? So we're doing item 11 and 12 concurrently. And
I have 89 for my resolution.
89.
Let's see.
Let me find-
But I think Anthony's this is before mine, so I think maybe 87 starts the resolution. He gave you his
Yeah.
resolution, I think. 88 is the plan, which shows the subdivision.
Okay.
And then I think attached to mine shows the golf course and the other recreational and information. I do have the aerial attached too. So, yeah, I've got a couple maps. I'm trying to think what the best map is. Possibly this one. I'll zoom in a little bit.
I have the one with just the subdivision lots.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Is
so
it
I-
open? Close. Close some things. I think I need to close some things.
It was
Okay.
right next to my version, so that's okay.
So we had this discussion at the last meeting, to deem this application complete and scheduled for a public hearing for September 8th. So in your packet are 2 resolutions that are very similar. They go through the history that got us to this point, summarizes the secret process in the resolutions, and says that we have all the required information that they've submitted to date to process the applications. So we are recommending to deem it complete and schedule the public hearing for September 8th for both items on the agenda. And we also gave you the next steps process and the timeframes, depending on whether you keep the hearing open for these applications or not. That would affect those timeframes, of course. But that would be the next step in how we're presenting information to you. Essentially, we're recommending that the application has improved because the Pine Barrens has modified the plans to in their estimation to be a better project, more compact with the golf course and with the lots themselves. And so we would do an amended finding statement before any decision on the project.
Right.
Go through those standards.
I think the intent was have them both at the same time, and the 8th is good because we have nothing scheduled except for that one.
For the small application.
That small farm,
Yeah,
Roscoe barn.
yep, exactly.
Good.
So I don't know if the board had any questions. I know there's a lot of information in front of you, so.
Wayne, are you available? Did you need to add anything?
No, I think,
Just use the podium.
Sure. Wayne Bruin, O'Shea Marcinsick and Bruin for the applicant, and of course, we have representatives of the owners as well as our consultants to answer any questions the board may have. But I think we've been working with staff since February to try to get this. As you know, we did finally receive Health Department approval in May. And since May, various details and information that the staff has particularly looked at has been very helpful. There was a little thing with Jackie now leaving, and of course Anthony jumping back in, and Claire, and so on. So we really appreciate the efforts that everyone's made. We understand there's still further review by both the staff and the board, and to make sure that we dot all the i's, and we're prepared to do that. But I think it's time to have the public to weigh in as well. So.
Okay, good.
Great.
Claire, how do you, should, two separate, I'm
Separate
guessing two
resolutions.
resolutions.
Yep.
To do these, do you want to do the site plan first?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first, this action then is to deem the site plan complete for Lewis Road and to schedule the public hearing for September 8th. We motion?
I have some concerns, Dennis.
Oh, okay.
Do we have a second on the motion first, and then you can discuss?
Wait a minute, well, Gloria wants to,
I need a second on the motion, though.
who was the first?
Oh, I thought you made the motion.
No, no,
Yeah.
I-
Yeah.
We didn't-
And then she said
Gloria
she had
says I
some
had some concerns.
Okay.
Yeah, I've struggled with this for the past week, and I did ask Claire, and I probably didn't ask it correctly, that I wanted a report, because I don't actually know what I'm approving. It seems to me like there's been no coordinated review. I'm hearing about, we had a PDD, which what's the word I want to use for agency?
Involved.
Involved, thank you. We reviewed it. We then had a PRD, which we reviewed. Those are two applications. Then I know that there was an application to the Pine Barrens Commission. I'm not sure exactly if that was the same as what we reviewed. The Pine Barrens has now submitted a whole bunch of stuff, and the applicant has made some changes. There's also been an application to the Health Department, and I don't really understand what we're saying is complete and let's just move forward. And I've been around for this entire process. We've got 3 newer members. I can't imagine that they're comfortable knowing what they're voting on.
Oh,
I don't think we're voting on anything.
Well, we're
saying
voting
public-
on whether or not it's complete, and I'm not even sure what plan we're saying is complete.
The final plan, the final plat. that
That's
was
the
submitted.
I haven't
PRD.
seen-
It's the PRD with the accessory golf course that was adjourned by the zoning board of appeals, and the recreation use and the workforce housing and the sewage treatment plants and the administrative buildings. That is the 2 actions in front of you. So it is the PRD that was originally decided on October 24th. Now I've memorized all these dates, by the way.
Yeah.
October 24th, 2019. And at the time, the planning board did determine and adopt a finding statement that said they were an involved agency, and here's our findings with the project. So that is the project that you're considering. That is the same number of lots, the same, amenities associated with it. In any case, they've gotten smaller. Some things I can even tell you right off the top of my head right now, it was 104 acres of recreation, and it's now been reduced to 99 acres to regulate. So things have gotten smaller, tighter. That was what the Pine Barrens was going back and forth with, and the applicant agreed to make some changes. So again, SECRA doesn't allow for you to just have to start again every time something changes with the application. You as a board, an involved agency, says, is this substantive enough to have to go back, and is there new information? In this case, we've taken a very hard look at it. We've given you the information, and the staff is saying, no, there's substantively, this is similar or better application. That'll be your conclusion. Or if it's not your conclusion, then you're going to make that determination collectively as a board. So that's my 2 cents, and Wayne, speak to it too.
I would agree with what the staff just stated. Gloria, and I know you know the history perhaps, but I think the resolutions that I just reviewed also give you that history. This board did approve a preliminary plan with a finding statement. That same plan was submitted to the Pine Barrens Commission. The Pine Barrens Commission, after a year review, asked us to revise. At the last meeting and in a work session previously, we presented to you what the substance of those changes were. As Claire said, clustering tighter, moving golf holes from the northerly end and steep slopes to the south, moving the sewage treatment plant further to the south were the biggest elements. Those changes made the project better from an environmental standpoint. And we submitted documentation that's been sitting here since February. Among other things, Nelson Pope and Voorhees and Paul Grosser's office with all the required elements, the groundwater monitoring plan, but the seeker compliance document identifying how all those changes from what you approved have made the project better. So in the last few months, and when we first submitted, we didn't have health department approval yet, but the map that was approved by the health department is the same map that was approved by the Pine Barrens. And so the changes from what you granted preliminary were those that the Pine Barrens required us to do. So that is what has been submitted. And all today is not a vote on whether this is a good project or a bad project. It's whether it's recognizing that the submission we made meets the letter of the law. And then you have technically from the receipt of that application to either hold your public hearing or to take an action within 62 days if you're not going to hold a public hearing. So I think the issue today is just to accept the application as complete, which I think your staff is saying everything's there. We will submit that it is there. We expect you to continue and undertake the review that will be necessary, as I mentioned before. But I also think that it's time to allow the public to have an opportunity to weigh in and give comments on your application as well.
Claire, I understand because of the public nature of this, and it's something that I've followed from the periphery, not having been involved with it. I've agreed that it should be put for the public to have a say, right? And could you explain the next steps following that public hearing, just so that, to put at ease the board, given the public nature of this project?
Right, exactly. Well, you'll probably do a comment period if and when you close it for September 8th. And then after that, we'd be presenting you information. And I would like to get that to you as soon as possible, get you draft documents, a full report for your consideration, and looking at the amended findings statement, because I'd like to go through every point and say it's the same, it's been modified, and here's the advantage to the project in front of you, which is what the applicant's representing, and you just need to do that analysis, and it's gonna be some work. So I think we're gonna need a couple meetings to go through that.
And maybe work session.
Yeah, I mean, I was not in any way suggesting that I didn't want the public's input. Obviously, we do. But I think that's what I was expecting to have before we said it was complete, is some sort of a top line. This has changed, and here's the highlights. And I know that we had a PowerPoint presentation, but that PowerPoint presentation was more of a marketing presentation. It looked pretty, but I'm a numbers person. And so
Right.
that didn't speak to the way I analyze data.
Right.
So I'm feeling like I have to make a decision on, I know that there's been a lot of change, and I don't know exactly what we're saying. We have a map, we have a site plan, so is that all we're saying?
Yes, that is actually all you're saying, is that you have all the required information to do the analysis. If the board, sorry.
That's okay.
If the board says at the end of the day is I can't adopt a finding statement that supports this project, then you're saying you there's new information. Something's changed with this project that rises to the level of environmental review. That is gonna be, you know,
And
that's your prerogative.
But what you're saying, and to your point, procedurally, the first application comes in, secret lead agencies determined, you go through secret, Pine Barrens then coordinates and says, it's not a good idea, change this, that, and the other thing. They've changed that. We're now considering this new application, and you're gonna do an amended finding statement to compare what they submitted at first to what they've submitted now, integrate the public input to it.
Yes.
And we're approving today to get the public's input so that we can analyze it with the staff, with ourselves, and with the public input. I think that's a good idea.
And Gloria, further to your comments, I think the substance of the public hearing is going to be to bring forward that information, the differences, how the plan has changed, the modifications. I think that's going to be the essence of the public hearing presentation. Why, another reason why it's a good idea to get the public hearing.
I'm not suggesting that that's not something we should do, obviously, that's something we should do.
I think that's what's going to happen at the public hearing, and the consultants are there. Chick, did you want to speak to that?
And I definitely appreciate the comments. It's great to see everyone. And I do want to say that
Say your name, Chick.
Chick Voorhees, Nelson Pope Voorhees, for the record, representative of the applicant. And I had helped with the preparation of the PowerPoint presentation that came before the last meeting. And I think really the important thing there wasn't meant to be a marketing tool. It was really meant to show you that we have checked all the boxes that were part of your preliminary subdivision approval. And that came with many detailed reports. We have reports on transplanting species, revegetation. Paul Grosser's here on the monitoring protocols. You know, just a host of items that were required in your preliminary approval. So, you know, we really feel that we were put through the paces then. Seeker was complete then, and we demonstrated that through your statement of findings that was adopted, that there was no significant adverse environmental impact. And obviously, as Wayne said, we went to Pine Barrens Commission, and the plan got better. And Claire has indicated this as well. So we're back to get in front of the public. We do plan, Dennis, as you mentioned, we do plan on making a very detailed presentation. We will present the numbers. But what staff is telling you is that we have submitted all of that information. And I have to tell you that they beat us up pretty good.
As they always do.
We had a number of meetings. There were requests for certain maps to be presented in a certain way that clearly demonstrated conformance with the Aquifer Protection Overlay District and the Pine Barrens. And all of that is part of your record now, as is all the other supporting studies. So the numbers are there. We also provided a seeker compliance document to show what the changes were and how they don't affect any of the environmental resources that were studied in the original documents. So I'm really here just to say that the PowerPoint demonstrated that on a step-by-step basis. We feel we're ready to come back to you with a detailed presentation that I think the public should benefit from, as has been mentioned. And I would just support the town's analysis that we have completed the necessary items for the final subdivision hearing and site plan hearing.
Good. Thanks, Chick. So, and I apologize, Kate, I didn't get your motion, but we were back to this deeming the site plan complete, scheduling the hearing for the 8th, and I think you made the motion. Do we have a second on that? Is this to deem complete?
Made the motion.
I thought Kate.
I mean, I said, I think it's a good idea, but formally, yes, I'll make a motion to have a public hearing, please.
I'll second.
Very good. A second by George. All in favor, aye. Opposed, abstentions?
Abstain.
We have 5 yes, 1 abstention. We'll move to the second resolution, which is the, Anthony?
Which is the subdivision.
Subdivision.
Component, and
Pretty much identical language in the resolution.
same thing. Actually, I just wanted to. I had just put up, because we looked at the other maps. All the maps. I try to find the ones that I find easy to to read. I like the ones that relates to the,
Yeah, nice.
to the subdivision here. The lots that are being created just to.
There it is.
Yeah, so that was a little bit easier. Obviously, all, the golf course and amenities will be surrounding it, but this is the layout of the lots, which I thought. And just, so the other thing is, just to add to that, by deeming it complete, the other side of it is, now we do our final referrals. So now these plans then are gonna get reviewed again by, the engineer for the purposes of the subdivision, the conservation board, and the other involved agencies. So we're gonna be getting that information that's gonna come in as well. And just to quickly do this, I know. And just to show when Jackie had been working on it, was deemed incomplete in February. And then between March 29th and July 29th, we received various information that was submitted and reviewed and at meetings and everything else. So it is in the resolution, and I'm also recommending deeming the application complete and having the hearing the same night, which would be September 8th.
Right, September 8th. Okay, very good. Do we have a motion? Motion by Tom. Second?
I'll second.
Second by George. Again, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
We have 1 abstention, 5 yes, 1 absent. So we got cleared the decks for the 8th.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you, staff, for an amazing, both Claire and Anthony, for.
And Jackie.
And Jackie.
She did.
Yeah. Really have
May I ask
to
a question?
get a
or
gold
just
star for
now that
that.
we voted on it, and maybe it's something, we talked about last time, the affordable housing units, whether they would have access to the amenities on the site, and because they weren't part of the homeowners association, they would not. But is it possible to work with home ownership instead of rental of those sites? And you don't have to answer that now, but just a consideration, so that there's less of a gap between, the workforce housing and the people that are living there and owning homes.
You can bring that up at the hearing, too.
Okay,
Be-
yeah, just didn't want to,
Just want to part
come
of the
in from the
record.
side, something to chew on.
And to
Thank you.
piggyback on that, was it ever discussed to have that as staff housing as opposed to open affordability?
They
It was
Or- or-
affordable.
Affordable, it has to go under the lottery system,
lottery
our
system.
lottery
Yeah.
system,
Yeah.
correct.
But at Bridgehampton Turnpike, there is a lottery system, affordable housing where the person owns the home. Right, so I'm wondering if that could be considered.
So during the preliminary stage, obviously before
Yeah.
your time, the planning board, so at the town board level, the issue of workforce housing, and the town board actually wanted a fee in lieu, which they would use and provide affordable housing off-site at their discretion. When it came before the planning board at the pre-application and during the preliminary approval, with referrals to Department of Director of Land Management as well as the Town's Housing Commission, it was determined that the planning board would rather have actual construction, and it was recommended that what was needed in this area was rental housing as opposed to home ownership. But because of where we were with the town board, with the PDD, the flexibility in the zoning versus what could happen here, there is an issue of how the relationship between those amenities and the use of those, but I think that's something we're working with, and we hear what your comment is.
Yeah, I just think, if it's a homeowners association situation, then presumably if those people owned their home on that site, then they would also have access to those amenities.
Right, well, you're talking about 12 units, and that was the point. They wanted rental housing, and we provided it in one facility versus 12 separate lots someplace.
Oh.
So that was a big decision that this board made at the preliminary stage.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Thank you, Wayne.
Sounds good.
All right. Claire, are you going to go in order to new singular, item 13? I don't have a page number on it.
I have a page number of 94.
94, there you go.
I had prepared a resolution. This is to deem its application incomplete. It is a, oh, that's actually wrong. Here it is. I'm sorry, 96. What was I doing here? So this is an existing cell tower on Great Hill Road. And there's two outstanding issues. One is that they don't have a survey during the existing clearing. Beat everybody up before. So they'll need to do that. And also, we need to have the owner's endorsement for this application. So prior to that, we're considering the site plan. Otherwise, it's a straightforward application. They're just putting 12 new antennas on an existing structure that doesn't have any real houses around it or anything like that. So it's probably pretty straightforward, but at this point, we'll be complete.
Incomplete?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a motion? Motion by George,
Second?
second by Craig, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 yes.
And then
How about Liberty Real, number
yes,
14?
that would be to deem, to set the,
Resubmission conference.
Is this the Nardi Pest Control?
yes, behind Nardi. I think there's a house there. Here
I
it
was
is.
trying to figure out where it was, and I'm like, so
So the
lost.
Nardi-
This is
Nardi-
Nardi. Can you see my aerial? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, this is Nardi, and then this is a house.
Yes, but it's,
So they've been using it for a special trade contractor, but it only has a CO for a house.
Oh,
property
is it,
right now.
so it's not, it's different, it's a separate piece of property?
It is a separate piece of property.
Oh, it's
yeah.
it's the other side of Flying Point Road.
It is.
Yeah, that's what was
it's very
confused, that was
confusing.
what was confusing me.
So Flying Point Road used to be
County
County
Road
Road
39.
39.
Yes, yeah,
and it's-
yeah.
And it was bisected. So, so this is an existing house. It needs to be cleaned up. It's becoming a special trade contractor building on the property. I think I have the plan attached. So here's the plan. It actually proposes access. Go to Road 39,
Yikes.
which I discourage. But
Yeah.
it is a residential road too, so there's a couple things we have to
mean,
consider there.
I think they park on that property and walk across to work. So I
Ooh.
see some people doing
they
that.
park everywhere because the property next to them is being used illegally as well.
Maybe that's,
And it's a,
that might be the
it's a
one I've
nightmare,
seen.
just
Yeah,
saying.
this one.
Yes.
This one too,
I live
yeah.
in close proximity,
Right,
so I
you
see
see
it
it.
every day.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, this is pre-submission. This is to get the initial comments from.
So they're gonna knock down the old house and build?
No, actually, they're gonna reuse that as an office
Oh,
space.
oh, okay.
So, but it is a house, and Wayne speaks to this. I think they want office on the first apartment? second?
Yeah, what they want to do is convert the first floor to an office and keep the apartment on the second floor.
I don't like that. It's because residential is typically not permitted, but the existing residence is functioning. I just don't see it being compatible to an apartment. That's another animal.
Well,
But
workforce
literally.
housing, I think it's for an employee, but that's,
Yeah, but you know, my thing is kids. You just don't want kids in your house. So, but that's a definite issue they'll bring up before pre-submission. This is to get before the public,
Conversion.
to get the inputs to do a pre-submission reports. So I recommend September 22nd. How are we doing on the 22nd? That'll be 4.
It'll be 4?
Yeah.
It'll
I
work.
think that's the last one, though, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. That'll be the 4th one.
Okay,
You good with that?
yep,
Okay.
thank you.
thanks, Wayne. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria,
Second.
second by George, all in favor? Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
abstentions.
So 9/22/22.
Rhoda, oh, did we skip Rhoda?
No, it's last.
No, it's still on.
Rhoda is an extension to September 20th.
The public hearing?
No.
No, the adoption of the pre-submission report.
Oh,
This is one Jackie was working
Oh,
on
okay, yep.
with the access being an issue. So I think, did you get an update that they're looking for a portion of it to be purchased by CPF? Did you get that update on this project?
We were at the point where Jackie was kind of exploring that idea and having them come in with a one lot and
Yeah.
giving, so it never came to the board though, because we were trying to see if that would resolve some of the issues with the neighbors. I don't think it will. Having said that, it's Lisa's probably still looking at it, so maybe we have a better idea in September. This one is very complicated, and there are access issues and greenbelt issues and.
We spent
lots of
hours
neighbors.
talking about it here.
Yeah.
I think it was actually on Zoom at the time.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to the property because I was so intrigued, and it's not that far from me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this would be just extend that deadline for the pre-application reports to September 22nd, and we'll have a better idea. I think they're exploring the CPF purchase route, which would be good.
Did you say September 22nd?
September's 22nd, I think that's my next date.
Why
It's
do I
not
have-
for a hearing, it's just the
Work
deadline.
session.
Work
Why do I have 11:10 in my notes?
Because I did that.
Okay, so I'm not crazy.
Before I asked the applicants, and the applicant said, let's do September 22nd. So, yep. So I'm going to change the resolution to say September 22nd.
Okay.
Yep. Good catch.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Craig,
Second.
second by Gloria, and all in favor? Aye, opposed, abstentions? We have 6 yes, 1 absent.
And the two signatures, right?
Lauren, have you
I-
signed?
I will not, but I'm going to.
Okay,
now.
item 17 is acknowledged for Hattrick, and how about GTB? Are you going to be signing that too?
Yes,
I
that's
think
right.
they're both there, so.
They're both in front of there, okay, so item 17 and 18 are both acknowledged. We have motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Gloria, second by George. We were adjourned. And we only have one hearing on tonight, so